Jenna and I first crossed paths about 7 years ago, and we instantly hit it off, forming a strong bond. We both grew up in the heartland of America, where our Christian values placed God above everything, even family. Sundays were always spent at church, discussing our future and what life had in store for us. I had built a successful career as an engineer with promising prospects, while Jenna thrived in her job selling accounting software for a big tech company out of Dallas. Before we got married, my parents, who had significant wealth, gifted me a 3-bedroom house as a graduation present. They believed in sharing their success while they were still alive, unlike most who wait until after they're gone. Jenna and I tied the knot a little over 5 years ago, and since then, life has felt like a continuous honeymoon. Our connection was strong, and our friends often joked about us being soulmates. Some were even a little envious of our closeness. Our joy doubled when we were blessed with twin girls, and raising them became our top priority. Our life may have seemed boring to some. Most nights were spent at home cooking dinner, with Friday and Saturday nights reserved for going out. Sundays were always for church. We weren't big on socializing or following fashion trends, and Jenna's wardrobe was modest both at work and at home. Our marriage was built on a foundation of trust and honesty, which kept it strong. Jenna was naturally affectionate, always expressing her love through kind gestures and warmth. I valued that deeply in her. We shared everything with each other, and while raising twins brought its challenges, I cherished every moment. Sure, it stressed Jenna out at times, but I was always there to help her through it. We communicated well, solving problems as they arose, and life with Jenna and the girls was going smoothly. Then, a week before her company's annual exhibition, Jenna got word that she had to attend because several of her co-workers had caught a virus. She tried everything to avoid going but couldn't get out of it. Apologizing, she told me how sorry she was to leave us for 3 days and that she had talked to her boss but couldn't change anything. She hated being away from us. I reassured her that we'd manage just fine, though we'd certainly miss her. I helped her pack, and we left together for the limo her company had arranged to take her to the airport. Our marriage was built on trust and honesty. Jenna had never given me a reason to doubt her love or faithfulness. We were always open with each other, especially when it came to raising our kids. On the second night of her trip, I received a message from Mike, a colleague and friend of mine who was attending a cybersecurity event in Dallas. He mentioned that he had seen Jenna at the exhibition and asked if I was attending the same conference. I confirmed she was in Dallas but didn't know the name of the exhibition. His message left me curious about what he was getting at. Then he sent 2 photos and a short video. I froze, feeling a sense of dread wash over me. The first picture showed my wife in a dress I had never seen before. It was much shorter than anything I would have expected her to wear, and her appearance was different from her usual modest style. She looked well put together, but it felt unfamiliar to me. At first I laughed, thinking I wished Jenna would dress like that once in a while. But my amusement quickly turned into concern. The next picture showed her sitting very close to a man, her boss, Tom Foster. I stared at the image, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. Then came the last image, a close-up of Jenna smiling and looking into Tom's eyes. My heart sank. I wanted to believe there was a reasonable explanation for what I was seeing, but doubt started creeping in. The video followed. It was short, but its impact was undeniable. In it, Jenna leaned in and kissed Tom. My world felt like it was falling apart. I couldn't breathe, and tears welled up in my eyes. Another message popped up on my screen. "Are you okay? Do you want me to check on her?" I replied, "Yes, I'll call her right now." I dialed Jenna's number, but it went straight to voicemail after a few rings. I left a message, trying to sound calm, saying that we missed her and hoped she was having a good evening. Then I messaged Mike again. "I just tried to reach her," I said. Mike replied quickly, his tone apologetic. "Hank, I'm really sorry about all this." She saw the call and just put the phone back in her bag. I've never seen her act like this before. "It's okay, Mike. Thanks for telling me. You've been a good friend. I'll take it from here." "Are you going to be all right?" he asked. "No, but I'll manage. I know what I need to do. Thanks again." I sat in the dimly lit living room, holding a drink, trying to make sense of everything. How had I missed this? How long had it been going on? None of it added up. Our relationship had only grown stronger over the past 6 months. We had been closer than ever, so nothing made sense. About an hour later, Mike sent more photos and videos. One clip showed them dancing, his hand resting on her back. Another captured them standing close together. I knew in my heart that something had changed between Jenna and me, but there was still so much I needed to understand. Using the analytical skills I had developed as an engineer, I spent the next few days carefully planning my next steps. Then Jenna surprised me with a call around 10 p.m., right after I had received the last batch of those painful images. I took a deep breath, determined to keep my emotions in check and not let on that I knew what had been happening. "Hey, sorry I missed your call earlier," she said softly. "I was at a dinner meeting and couldn't talk. I miss you so much, and I can't wait to be home." "I miss you too, Jenna. I love you, and I appreciate you calling. The girls are doing great, by the way. I'll send you some photos. They can't wait for you to get back. I tried to come home earlier, but my boss insisted I stay. We'll celebrate when I'm back." "That sounds great. You finished for the day?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. "Yeah, I'm about to head to bed. It's been a long day. I love you. I'll call you tomorrow. Good night." "I love you too, Jenna. Good night." After I hung up, the tears came again. Everything I had said was true. I did love her more than anything. I couldn't understand how we had ended up here. But as the hours passed, I knew there was no going back. Late that night, another message from Mike appeared on my phone. It was a photo of Jenna and Tom sitting on a couch in the hotel lobby, deep in conversation. They looked comfortable together. His hand rested casually on her arm. "Let me know if you want me to stop," Mike wrote. "Looks like she's staying busy." I stared at my phone, trying to keep my emotions under control. "It's hard to see, but thanks for the photos. No need to follow her anymore. I'll handle it from here. I'm sorry, man. I'm here if you need me. Thanks, I'll figure it out." That night, I cried myself to sleep, realizing that the woman I loved had made a choice that I couldn't change. I found some brief comfort in remembering our wedding vows and the joy of raising our daughters. The next morning, Jenna sent me a flood of affectionate messages filled with hearts, kisses, and emojis. She told me how much she missed me and the girls, even hinting at how excited she was to be back home with us. When she finally returned, she was nothing but sweetness, acting like nothing had happened. I began to wonder if she had some kind of dissociative disorder or was unknowingly medicated. I searched for any possible explanation, but deep down, I knew I had to face reality and prepare for her return. Our conversation seemed normal, with Jenna telling me how much she longed to be back with us. What hurt the most wasn't just the affair itself, but the lies she used to cover it up. That deceit felt just as devastating as seeing her with Tom in those photos. After learning about Jenna's betrayal through Mike's messages, I decided to take action. Using my tech skills, I discreetly installed tracking software on her phone, originally designed to help recover lost devices. I made sure it was the latest version and even walked Jenna through setting it up, pretending it was for convenience. The software had a voice recording feature that captured calls, texts, and emails, uploading everything to the cloud. Let me be clear, I had never intended to spy on her before this. But after what I had seen, my trust was shattered, and I felt I had no choice. My top priority now was protecting our daughters and, if possible, salvaging our marriage. Taking care of the twins kept me busy, giving me some reprieve from the constant heartache. Whether it was making them breakfast, cleaning up their toys, or playing with them, those moments were a lifeline amidst the chaos. Around 2 p.m., I had just put the girls down for their nap. After tidying up the house and taking a shower, I sat at the kitchen table to catch up on things. Jenna had sent me 6 more sweet messages, saying she'd call at 5 p.m. when her workday ended. After reading through them, I logged into the cloud account from my laptop and reviewed everything recorded since I'd set up the software. I was speechless as I read through the texts between her and Tom. Here are just a few excerpts. "You were amazing last night, babe. Can't wait for tonight. Thanks, honeybee. I had a great time too. Let's meet in my room after work before dinner. Sounds good, but I need to call my husband first. I'll be ready by 5:15. Does he suspect anything? Of course not. He thinks I'm still in love with him. We've kept it a secret for over 6 months and he has no clue. Don't worry. My blood boiled. Honeybee was my nickname for her, something I had used during our most intimate moments, and now she had given it to him. How blind had I been? What kind of fool was I? I slammed the laptop shut and hurled a lamp across the room, watching it shatter against the wall. The rage I had been holding in finally exploded. Just as I was about to throw something else, I heard the twins crying from their room. Their cries snapped me back to reality, and I quickly calmed down. I rushed into their bedroom, scooping them up in my arms, holding them until they settled down. After cleaning up the broken glass from my outburst, I let the girls play in the living room while I poured myself another strong drink, trying to process everything. In my mind, our marriage was beyond repair, and it was time to act. I didn't have the emotional energy to listen to more of their conversations or go through any more files, so I let them pile up in the cloud. My plan was to keep up appearances with Jenna, pretending to be the loving husband she thought I was, while quietly figuring out my next steps. I needed to contact a divorce lawyer, hire a private investigator, and ensure I could secure custody of the girls. Their well-being was the only thing that truly mattered to me. "Hey, sweetheart," Jenna's voice came through the phone. "How are the girls doing?" "They're missing their mommy," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Oh, I miss them so much," she said, her voice filled with affection. "And of course, I miss you too. I can't wait to wrap my arms around you when I get back. I'm going to give you the biggest kiss ever." I played along, just as I had planned. "I think of you constantly, darling. I can't wait to hold my loving, beautiful wife again soon. We'll be together soon," she purred. I somehow kept it together, and our call lasted exactly 15 minutes. At 5:15, she ended the conversation with, "I love you, Hank. I've got to get back to the hotel, but I'll message you later." "I love you too, sweetheart," I responded, knowing full well it was just another lie. As I hung up, the hurt from her deception was now turning into something darker: contempt, anger, and a growing need for revenge. I had loved her with every fiber of my being, and the betrayal cut even deeper because of it. But I was determined to expose her lies and make her face the consequences. When Jenna returned from her trip, I greeted her at the airport. She embraced me, just as she had promised, and kissed me like nothing had changed. Either she was a world-class actress, or she still genuinely cared for me. I couldn't figure it out. Was her affair with Tom purely physical, or was there something more? Her behavior continued to confuse me. That evening, she spent a solid hour with the girls, enjoying every moment with them. Later that night, she was particularly affectionate, whispering how much she had missed me and the girls, saying how hard it had been being away from us. She spoke of wanting nothing more than to be close and hold me. I returned her affection, playing the role of the doting husband, savoring every moment. Deep down, I knew it wouldn't last much longer. I hid the painful truth from her, continuing to shower her with love every night. To everyone else, our relationship looked perfect. People even envied us, but it was all just an act. For 3 long months, I watched closely for any signs of infidelity, but I saw nothing out of the ordinary. Jenna came home at her usual time. No unusual phone calls, no strange messages. A part of me even started to hope that maybe it had all been a mistake, and that things might somehow fix themselves. Then one day, I got a call from Carlos, the private investigator I had hired. We arranged to meet the next day at his office downtown. When I arrived, he greeted me and led me into a conference room. "Good afternoon, Hank. Good to see you again." "Likewise, Mr. Carlos," I replied, bracing myself for what was coming. "I wish I had better news," he said, his expression serious. "Unfortunately, I have some tough information to share. Are you ready to go over our findings?" I sighed and nodded, though deep down I already knew what he was going to say. I didn't care anymore. Jenna was more passionate than ever, trying to convince me I was the only one in her heart. This routine continued for the next few weeks. Every night her performance was flawless, and I simply sat back, watching the show unfold. The next morning I checked the cloud for any new messages with Tom, and as expected, she didn't disappoint. "Oh my God, someone took photos of us at the exhibition and sent them to Hank. His friends saw me at the restaurant without Hank. I'm not sure if he knows yet, but the video showed us kissing. Damn, Now that you mention it, I remember a guy with a phone across from us. I didn't think much of it at the time. How did Hank react? Nothing. I convinced him it was no big deal. He has no idea I spent the night in your room. I told him I had a few drinks, made amends. He's always been easy to sway. A few kisses and some good sex, and he forgets everything. Be careful, babe. We'll meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. as usual. Can't wait. Love you, honeybee. Love you too. That was the last message. I sat there, absorbing it all. I felt like the world's biggest fool, but there was a strange satisfaction in knowing that my plan for revenge was falling into place. So I continued carefully and deliberately. Meanwhile, I enjoyed watching Jenna's little charade, waiting to see how many more lies she could spin. My first priority was to secure my financial affairs. I transferred funds, closed accounts, and minimized potential damage. I kept my main Visa card active, but reduced the credit limit to $2,500, just enough to prevent any serious expenses. Jenna remained completely oblivious to my growing rage, never suspecting the changes I was making. I confirmed with my lawyer that since I owned the house before our marriage, I wouldn't be forced to leave once the divorce papers were served. Then, I composed the email. I attached all the videos, texts, and photos, preparing to send them to Jenna's friends, family, and co-workers. I also created duplicate binders to send to Mrs. Foster and Mrs. Gray so they could share in the misery. These would be delivered the moment the legal notifications were filed. My lawyer was also preparing to file public civil lawsuits against both Tom and Charlie. Given the company's prominence, my lawyer was eager to drag the CEO into the mess. We planned to propose a settlement before the full extent of their actions could be revealed. I also worked with a child services attorney to ensure I would get full custody of the girls, gathering all necessary documentation. For weeks, everything seemed normal. Jenna and I spent time with the kids, acted like the perfect couple, and kept up appearances. Our conversations avoided the elephant in the room, and I'm sure my silence drove her crazy. The uncertainty of what I knew must have been torturous. To mess with her, I dropped a few probing questions here and there. "So, Jenna," I asked casually one evening, "has your boss said anything about what happened at the exhibition? Anything you need to tell me?" I already knew everything from her conversations with Tom, but it was entertaining to watch her lie. I could even predict when she was about to do it. She kept her composure, though, telling me nothing happened and their interactions were strictly professional. "We've been so busy we hardly talk anymore," she said, her voice steady. I smiled to myself, amazed at how easily she could deceive me, the mother of my children, the woman I once loved. That night, I decided to release the last of my anger. I confronted her, not with words, but by taking full advantage of her false affection. She gasped, "Oh my God, Hank, what's gotten into you? You're being so intense tonight." I smiled, knowing this would be our final encounter before everything fell apart. The next afternoon, the sheriff walked into Omnitech Industries and handed Charlie an envelope. "Mr. Gray, you've been served." Charlie stood alone in his office, clutching the envelope as fear washed over him. He summoned Tom to his office immediately. By the time Tom arrived, he too had been served. "What the hell? How did this happen?" Tom demanded, storming in. "If my wife finds out about this, I'm done." Charlie growled, "This is on you. You promised me this woman would never expose us. Fix this, or I'll ruin you and your family. Understand?" Charlie wasn't a man to be crossed. He had clawed his way to the top of a multi-billion-dollar corporation and had no intention of backing down. Tom hurried out, his mind racing. He needed to speak with Jenna immediately. As he approached her office, he saw the sheriff leaving from the same direction. Bursting through her door, he found Jenna sitting at her desk, tears streaming down her face. "What happened?" she stammered, her voice choked with emotion. "How did he find out?" "I don't know, but I've been served with divorce papers," Tom replied. "Gray and I are both facing lawsuits for our actions. There must be more evidence than those 2 photos you showed me. You need to convince Hank to drop this or Gray will destroy us." "Oh my God, Tom, this is terrible," Jenna sobbed. "I don't want to lose Hank. I have to find a way to fix this." "Do whatever it takes," Tom urged. "Go home, talk to him, make him see reason. Call me tonight, keep me updated." Trembling, Jenna packed her things and drove home. The man she loved, the father of her children, was divorcing her. She genuinely loved Hank but couldn't resist the excitement of the affair. Now she had to make him understand. When she arrived, the house was empty. The girls were at Hank's sister's as they always were while we worked. Jenna showered, did her hair and makeup, and waited anxiously for me to come home. At 6 p.m., she heard the garage door open. Her heart pounded as she anticipated the confrontation. "Jenna," I said as I walked in, "didn't expect to see you tonight. I figured you'd be with Tom." "Oh wait, he's married with kids. This could get awkward." "Hank, please," she said, taking my hand and pulling me to the couch. She looked calm, almost too composed. "As you know, I was served today, but I don't want a divorce. I love you. I need you. Yes, I made mistakes with Tom, but it wasn't love. I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. I promise." "Oh, you promise?" I asked with a sarcastic smile. "Well, in that case, I guess I can trust you now." She embraced me, kissing me gently. "Thank you, baby. I love you so much. I'm so grateful you understand." I pulled away, gently pushing her aside. "You're delusional, Jenna. I can't trust you anymore. After all the lies, the deceit, there's nothing left. You destroyed our lives. Do you even realize what you've done to our girls? I can't look the other way." Her eyes widened in shock. "You can't seem to understand why I'm going after Tom and Charlie," I continued. "Those partners of yours run a multi-billion-dollar company. When I leave, I'll need money to take care of the girls. Since they're partly responsible for ruining our marriage and my life, I'll ruin theirs. I'm going to destroy their families, just like they destroyed ours." Jenna had never seen me like this. Angry, focused, unshakable. Tears streamed down her face as she knelt in front of me, begging for forgiveness. I gently lifted her onto the sofa. "Here's the plan. Pack your things and stay at your mom's for a few nights. Get yourself a lawyer. We'll arrange a meeting to talk things over. And stay far away from Charlie and Tom. Things are about to get messy." This story vividly illustrates how betrayal and deceit can destroy not only relationships, but also the very foundation of trust between loved ones. It shows how the hidden actions of one person can lead to a cascade of destruction, affecting all aspects of life, personal and professional. In psychology, this is often referred to as the chain reaction of mistrust, where one lie creates a web of suspicion, leading to catastrophic outcomes. From the perspective of human nature, betrayal in relationships isn't merely an act of infidelity. It shatters the fundamental pillars of security and emotional attachment. Studies show that the emotional wounds caused by betrayal can be as deep and traumatic as those caused by physical abuse. As American psychologist John Gottman once said, "Trust is more than just keeping promises. It's the cornerstone of emotional safety in relationships. When that trust is broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild, even if love still remains." Feeling betrayed and hollow, the protagonist tries to regain control through a plan of revenge. This represents a complex psychological mechanism known as compensation, where a person shifts focus from inner pain to external actions in an attempt to restore a sense of justice and power. But as one of America's great thinkers, Benjamin Franklin, warned, "He that falls in love with revenge keeps his wounds green." In seeking justice and retaliation, the protagonist becomes a prisoner of his own emotions and internal conflict. The question of whether to forgive or to seek vengeance is a recurring dilemma in modern psychology. Forgiveness is often seen as a path to emotional freedom, but many, like the protagonist of this story, choose a path that feels more immediate and justified in the short term. However, it's essential to remember that revenge rarely brings lasting relief. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." The protagonist, in his quest to protect his children and himself, uses his pain as fuel to destroy those he believes have ruined his life. Yet, this leaves an open question. Will he be able to cope with the emotional scars that have been inflicted and eventually rebuild a new life free of bitterness? Life, as wise men have often said, is a series of choices, and sometimes the hardest choice is not to tear things down.